Imagine you are a young person who has been on a cold and wet voyage for almost 2 months. The food is awful, sleep was rough due to the constant movement of the ship on the waves and the sickness it gave your stomach. But now you are standing on dry land. Savage and untamed, you are now are some of the only English to have set foot on foreign land. As amazing as it is, you're not here to colonize this land yet. No, you're here to explore. You are here to help brighter men in their task of finding what riches this new land has for Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth I. Gold, silver, iron, crops, animals, all new and untamed. But nothing could have prepared your group for just how untamed this land really was, just how unforgiving the land could be when it didn't want to share its bounty. The natives are difficult to speak with and deal with, and they do not trust you or your group at all. But despite being godless savages, you need their help. Much of your precious supplies were ruined on the trip over by a bad storm and a new captain at the helm. His hubris cost your crew 3 lives in nearly 2 weeks. And it's not until sleep is about to take you that it really sinks in, and you are pulled from rest's embrace. You are under a distant sky. You are so far from home and family. But how could anything happen to you with God and the crown at your side backing you? How could anything go wrong?
Damn.
Yeah. So everybody, welcome to Let's Make It Weird. My name is Matt.
I'm Jake.
Still Chip.
And guest speaker James, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
Guest speaker James. So today...
First-time caller, long-time listener.
There you go.
So he is our one view.
Oh my God! Thank you. Finally.
F5. Give him the hits.
So yeah, today we're going to be talking about the Lost Roanoke Colony, the very first colony to ever be set up by the English here in America, and ultimately it failed pretty badly.
I know. I saw it.
Yeah.
American Horror Story.
Well, and if you guys know anything about Jamestown and how all the terrors that they had to deal with, they're a colony that succeeded, and they still resorted to cannibalism and eating dogs and rats because they had no other food to go with. Yeah, they just really set up shop wherever they wanted to and just told everybody, deal with it and we'll send supplies in the air. Which sucks.
Yeah, that's not great.
It's fun.
Not at all. So
Sounds like retail.
I got the timer going now, finally. So yeah, we're here. How's your guys' week been though, by the way?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Work was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing to complain about.
Sporadic is all shit, man.
Yeah.
On and off, random days, 2 days. I haven't worked more than 2 consecutive days. What is that?
That's weird.
It's very weird.
I've seen some weird stuff this week.
Good.
Some really weird stuff.
That's what we're here for.
That's why we do this.
Oh, I put some Halloween lights up in my room. I almost killed myself doing it.
Dude, it's November 18th.
Yeah, well, they're staying up year-round, Chip.
Good on you.
Spooky as hell.
He's just early.
He's early.
Yeah, I'm just early.
It's just what?
Ahead of the curve.
11 months and 13 days.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we're coming up on Thanksgiving. It's in about a week, and I think it's pretty appropriate that we're talking about the first colonists in America, how the Pilgrims started the tradition of Thanksgiving. But this is a group of people that didn't have a whole lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, I don't think they really, raped or killed many Indians, did they?
Yeah, not yet.
We'll talk about it.
Maybe they did.
I mean, it could be a contributing factor to why they are no longer around. Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. All right, so let's dive into this.
To the foreplay.
Oh, God. Oh, okay. So, Background for this: Sir Walter Riley or Raleigh. I think it's Riley.
Actually.
I
Sir
don't
Walter
know.
Raleigh?
I think it's Sir Raleigh.
Raleigh.
Just say it with a British accent and I'll feel right.
Sir Walter Raleigh.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Gained his half-brother's charter from the Queen after Sir Humphrey Gilbert drowned in 1583 while attempting to colonize St. John's, Newfoundland.
Maybe that should have been a hint. If the last captain drowned, maybe that's the foreshadowing.
Yeah, right?
Did either of them look like Nigel Thornberry, though?
I wish.
No.
Both of them
Smashing.
dead.
I really wish.
No, they had like one of those big frilly collars that gets in the way of everything.
It was the 1500s.
Yeah.
Did they have powder wigs too? Or was
I
that...
think Raleigh was bald.
Raleigh was...
Or balding, I think he just had like the crown around his head.
Probably. Every picture I saw of him, he didn't have a powdered wig on, so...
I don't know what era that is. I think it's like 17th century.
Well, this is
1584.
1584 is when this all starts. March 25th, 1584. Queen Elizabeth I granted Raleigh a charter for the colonization of the area of North America. This charter specified that Raleigh needed to establish a colony in North America or lose his right to colonization on all the sweet, juicy gold they thought was pouring out of the ground. The Queen said to discover, search, find out, and view such remote heathen and barbarous lands, countries, and territories to have, hold, occupy, and enjoy.
This is the final nail in this podcast coffin.
No, dude.
That's
This is
how
gonna
British-
break the casket.
I went to England for 4 days.
And your
That's how
accent
they-
shows.
That's how they all
the
spoke.
Queen, that's how the
Learned
Queen
well.
talks.
You have
though.
much
The
Yeah.
Queen is not a soft-spoken figure. No, she's got a very interesting...
Got to be able to project, you know? You got to teach the
She's also like
queen
90
some
years
things.
old.
Yeah.
She's up there.
Yeah.
She's the Queen.
So, but they were also, the other part of this was to also establish a base from which to send privateers on raids against the treasure fleets of Spain. Raleigh himself never visited North America, although he led expeditions in 1595 and 1617 to South America's Orinoco River basin to search in search of the legendary city of El Dorado. And that turned out awesome.
Well, the Spaniards had kind of killed mostly everybody by then.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was an
and
apocalypse.
this was right before the Anglo-Spanish War, which was horrible. I mean, this disrupted everything. You'll see how, like, the Queen setting them up as like a sort of like base to go off and like attack these Spanish ships, just set them up for. Was I think a 10-year-long naval battle. It was the stupidest thing they could have ever done. It was
gold.
Oh yeah, they just wanted that gold.
I mean, history. Yeah.
So on April 27th, 1584, Raleigh sent an expedition led by Philip Mattis and Arthur Barlow to explore the eastern coast of North America. They arrived on Roanoke Island on July 4th and soon established two relations with the local natives, the Secretans.
Secretons?
Secretans, there you go. That's how it's pronounced.
What's
And the Croatoans. Barlow came back to England with two Croatoans named Manitou and Wanchese.
Cheesy.
I don't think it... Wanchese, maybe? I don't know, man.
I'm going to go with Juan Chess.
Wanchese,
Yeah.
maybe?
Wanchese.
You want to go with Wanchese?
I like Wanchese.
All
Let's
right.
insult his memory just a little bit more.
Who were able to describe the lay of the land to Raleigh. Based on the information given, Raleigh organized a second expedition to be led by Sir Richard Grenville.
Can we time out for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did they learn to communicate that quickly?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I feel like they were just saying things, and this guy,
A lot of
Amanda
the
Barlow, was like, yeah, there are some hills over here.
Well, a lot of the
And they're
times what
speaking like, you know-
they've done is this is not their not England's first adventures to these lands. This is they're just trying to set up a footholds for extended stays in
I get
America.
that, but like those like they met the Croatoans and the Secretans, you know,
Yeah.
quickly. Like, do you think they really could understand each other's?
Well, a lot of these guys
languages?
were they're there because they were fluent in so many languages and knew how to pick up languages based on
Oh.
common factors like this is the name of this tool for us. What is it for you?
But
And
these
kinda
these
go
are
from
people
there.
that like don't have any basis for like the Latin speaking countries, which are
That's
in,
true.
Europe. Like, how would they like? I feel like a lot of there has to be lost in translation. where
I'm
they
sure
just,
there's
like,
a lot of
brought him
that.
over, and we're just like using him as puppets. Like,
That's
he
how
would
we
say
bought-
something. Be like,
Yeah, that's how the U.S. formed so many treaties.
Yeah,
because
we just would buy
They don't
whole
understand.
territories for $100 because
or just a
crazy.
few beads.
seriously, yeah,
Yeah,
it was like beads and like some metal coins that they didn't know what to do with.
And some suspicious blankets. Can't forget about those.
sorry, I didn't mean to derail the podcast,
That's-
but I just
I was
like,
thinking that.
that's
It's a good
like
question.
how the hell are they like talking to these guys they just met like 2 years ago?
They're
Like, it takes
pretty
some
smart.
time.
And I think weirdly
That's-
enough, a lot of the Spanish influence, kind of from the conquistadors and all of Spain's adventures in South America, the languages kind of trickled a bit up north.
I'm sure they
Like,
did.
they were
It's
already
possible.
aware that there were these weird ass dudes wearing all this metal coming across the seas.
Yeah, and the French were already up in Canada,
And the French
so they were.
traded
Canada like
beavers
French
like they do
Canada.
now.
Yeah,
No, still.
Canada's #1 export.
Those 330 conibear traps, All right.
So Greenville's fleet departed Plymouth on April 9th, 1585, with 5 main ships: the Tiger, the Roebuck, the Red Lion, the Elizabeth, and the Dorothy. A severe storm off the coast of Portugal separated the Tiger from the rest of the fleet, but luckily the captains had a contingency plan if they were separated, which was to meet up in Puerto Rico, and the Tiger arrived in the Bay of Mosquito on May 11th. While waiting for other ships, Greenville established relations with the resident Spanish while simultaneously engaging in some privateering against them.
What a jerk.
These English captains just can't fucking get it in their head that it might just be better to just get the job done, because they also weren't getting paid very well for this. So they figured if
they got to come on top, They got to
if they can get a little
better than
a little profit off on the side, like I can steal some Spanish gold and then come back and be a little bit ahead. That's fine too.
I mean, I get it. It's capitalism.
In the worst way. Greenville eventually tired of waiting for the remaining ships and departed on June 7th. The Tiger sailed through Ocracoke Inlet in June 26th, but it struck a shoal, ruining most of the food supplies. The expedition succeeded in repairing the ship, and in early July reunited with the Roebuck and the Dorothy, which had arrived in the Outer Banks of with the Red Lion some weeks previous. The Red Lion had dropped off its passengers and left for Newfoundland for privateering.
Just privateering all over the place.
It's just,
That's a
good
lot
to
of
be a
privates.
pirate. Yeah.
Just privates.
All over.
Put your privates away.
Get your privates off the poop deck.
Oh, that was a good one. I thought that joke was done, but then you took it back.
Oh, it's so juvenile.
During the initial exploration of the mainland coast and the native settlements, the explorers blamed the natives of the village of Aquasagak. I cannot like it. Thank you, because I cannot get any of these Native American names like
I just called it cognac. There's
He
no
called
N.
it,
But
yeah.
Aquasagak, whatever.
Waskagak. Let's spend 20 minutes trying to pronounce it. We have not pronounced a single name or place correctly yet, I don't think.
It's gonna get worse the more we drink.
No.
So they blamed this village for stealing a silver cup.
They blamed an entire village for stealing a cup.
They blamed, yes.
What do they call what they're doing?
Privateering.
An entire village is at fault for one cup.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
These are the English. They don't.
Yeah, because
care.
instead of worrying about the fact that they ruined all their food on the trip over, they're worried about a silver cup.
Hey man, that's value to the queen. God
God.
bless
I mean,
her.
when they get more food, what are they going to put in it?
Oh, you know
A
what?
silver cup.
Goddamn
They don't
right.
have it.
Goddamn right.
I don't
didn't
see any
think about
Dixie
that.
cups being manufactured back then.
No, it's
Gotta use
at least
silver
100
cups that the
years.
natives stole.
Let's see any Dixie cups. I don't either. You're right.
Well, as retaliation for this minor slight, the settlers sacked and burned the village, which was the logical thing to do.
Yeah.
I've had a cup stolen from my house, and that's what I go to right away.
You just went to your neighbor's house, figured it was them.
I mean,
and,
obviously
like,
I don't, but that's the first thought I get.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, you just went over to your neighbor's house and beat their family up, killed
it's a
at
silver
least
cup.
two people.
Are you kidding me?
I didn't wash the dishes once, and he filled my room with bear traps.
I can get those, man. I know a guy.
Oh
Just got a
god,
bear trap guy.
you just walk in and like your door bumps one and it goes off. You're like, well, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight.
Those will snap a fucking
Snap,
tibia
snap,
stuff.
snap, everywhere.
You're in trouble.
So despite this incident and lack of food, Greenville decided to leave Ralph Lane and 107 men to establish a colony at the north end of Roanoke Island, promising to return in April 1586 with more men and fresh supplies. The group disembarked on August 17th, 1585, and they built a small fort on the island. There are no surviving renderings of the Roanoke fort, but it was likely similar to the structure that they had built previously while in Puerto Rico.
Do you think they actually built it, or were just like after they left, fuck you guys?
No, they really had to.
Gotcha.
So as April 1586 came and went, there was no sign of Greenville's relief fleet. Bad blood resulted from the destruction of the village, and this spurred an attack on the fort by the local Native Americans, which the colonists were able to repel easily because they had their fort
And guns.
muskets.
And
Yes,
guns, yep.
it was just a lot easier for them. So, soon after the attack, Sir Francis Drake shows up, and he was on his way home from a successful raid in the Caribbean. And he stopped at the colony and offered to take the colonists back to England.
Oh, they should have accepted.
They
did.
all accepted,
Oh.
including the metallurgist
Wait, all of
Joachim
them?
Gaines. Yes, all of them.
Nice.
Joaquin, like Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah.
On this return voyage, the Roanoke colonists introduced tobacco, maize, and potatoes to Europe.
Oh man, they
Really?
got it good.
Yeah. So
The
before
staple
this,
foods of
Those,
Ireland.
those
Yeah.
are the only
Yeah.
things I eat.
so before,
Tobacco, maize, and potatoes.
Yeah.
I consume, I guess.
So
but
can
I
you
don't
imagine
put it
what was Ireland doing before the potato showed up?
Whiskey.
in. I think they were being oppressed by the British.
They did have cattle.
That's true.
Most of their
I really
mythology
honestly don't know the
revolves around
history of
cattle
Ireland
raids.
that well. However, I think they sucked.
Yeah.
I think they had sheep, and that was about it, right?
It
Cattle.
wasn't very good for them.
Whiskey and
at that point.
oppression.
Yeah.
Their four main
I mean,
exports.
but the
And
potato
then
was
they
their
got the
downfall
potato.
after, it's a pretty easy crop to grow.
But can you think how this was the first time that these things had showed up in England? Like
That's
tobacco,
baffles me.
corn, and potatoes.
Potatoes are like every restaurant you ever go to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, think of a restaurant that doesn't have a potato.
Yeah, maybe
Chipotle.
starch free.
But
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think they still use potato starch for something.
I don't know. I don't think so. That's
Maybe.
Filler, MSG.
I asked that question. I shouldn't have answered that because Chipotle just popped right in. But no, yeah, I can't think of like a fancy restaurant that actually doesn't have potatoes.
I can't think about.
Maybe Maggie's Irish Pub up at ISCO.
Maggie's Irish pub.
Yeah.
Oh.
You mean down?
Down.
So Greenville finally showed up shortly after Drake left with the colonists, and finding the colony abandoned, returned to England with the bulk of his force, leaving behind a small detachment, both to maintain an English presence and to protect Raleigh's claim to Roanoke Island. So
Why did they give a fuck about Raleigh at that point though?
Yeah, I'm so
because
confused.
he's got a title, he's
Yeah.
got the charter, he's friends with the Queen.
Yeah.
Up until this point, he hadn't committed treason by marrying his handmaiden or her lady in waiting without her permission,
Fair enough.
so wasn't in jail. He just shoots himself in the fucking foot so many times. This guy is an idiot.
Wait, this was Grenville?
Raleigh.
Raleigh, yeah.
Yeah.
Raleigh.
I'm so confused on who is who.
Don't worry, they were too.
I'm confused. Okay, now it
hear
says
that.
right here though that the colony was abandoned again. So
It was abandoned
This
the
was-
first time
then where the hell did those guys go?
on the
They
ship
left.
for,
Yeah,
with
they
Sir
left
Francis
with Sir
Drake.
Francis
So then
Drake.
when Greenville showed back up, he dropped off like a handful of guys.
Who were probably pissed at it.
Yeah. Totally pissed about it.
Sir Francis Drake was spitting hot beats, so they're like, let's go with this guy.
Oh yeah, this like super famous pirate shows up and is like, "Hey, you guys want a free ride back to England?" They're like, "Yes,
Duh.
please."
Yeah.
We're out of
Yeah.
supplies here. We ain't got shit.
I was gonna eat this guy, but this sounds way
This
better.
land sucks, so please, these savages are trying to eat us. Yeah.
And they do not like being called savages.
No.
Man, they don't even know what that means, but they hate it.
Oh yeah.
Just Go back to your own country. They're like, we live here. We were here first.
So in 1587, Raleigh detached a new group of 115 colonists to establish a colony on Chesapeake Bay. They were led by John White, an artist and friend of Raleigh who had accompanied the previous expeditions to Roanoke.
What a fantastic choice for a leader.
Yeah,
Artist.
an
You know,
artist.
someone with no military training or
Oh, yeah.
leadership.
He's got great architectural
seamanship.
ideas, though.
Yeah.
Maybe not
It's
even
gonna
that.
be a pretty city.
Well, and here's the thing: is
He's just good at painting.
He was there the first time, and he saw how bad it sucked. Why go back?
He probably got pressured into it, man. He's an artist. He's got a weak character.
Maybe he was the
I
original
guess so.
emo.
We are generalizing all over the
Yeah,
place.
generalizing a lot.
Well,
This is all speculation.
This nerd. That's all I could think.
so why this guy wanted to go back after the first failed attempt, I have no idea. But White was appointed governor and was ordered to travel to Roanoke to check on settlers. But when they arrived in July 22nd, 1587, they found nothing except a skeleton that may have been the remains of one of the English garrison. So again, this place abandoned a second time.
Then John White painted him.
John Wayne.
John White.
Okay.
Did I say
When
John
they
White?
could find no one...
We have a recording, so we'll know.
No one's going to listen to it.
So when they found no one, the fleet's commander, Simon Fernandez, refused to let the colonists return to the ship, insisting that they establish a new colony in Roanoke.
Third time's a charm.
Why not? White reestablished relations with the Croatoan and other local tribes, but those who had dealt with Lane and fought previously refused to meet with them. Lane, the first guy who ran Roanoke the first time, and then they left with
The guy who
Drake?
lost his world's
Yeah.
greatest boss coffee.
Yeah.
yeah, the guy who insisted that they sack a village. because of the Silver Cup.
Silver Cup Man, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
anyway,
world's greatest boss on it.
Yeah.
Ye old world's greatest
It was
boss.
sentimental. It had sentimental value.
exactly. So because
That wasn't just any silver.
he attacked them, they refused to deal with this new group.
Could you
With
really
this new
blame
I
them?
don't blame them at all.
But I do, because they're savages. But let's go on.
So shortly thereafter, colonist George Howe was
Come on.
killed by a native.
I'm sorry. Did they find the cup?
I don't know.
No, it melted in the fire.
I had to ask. I mean, I feel like I had to ask.
Damn,
that.
I
Did
meant
they
to-
at least find the cup.
I meant to
don't
make
know.
that joke sooner, and
I
just
never saw
forgot.
anything that said that if they found the cup or
Like
not.
the cup was never resolved. Like
I don't think so.
No.
I think just
That's
needed
why.
an excuse.
That's why it came to flames.
Honestly, I think it was because they needed food and supplies.
So that
Yeah.
So they
It makes
went.
a lot of sense, but like a cup, come on, you can think of something better. Like they fucked your sister. Like, come on, that's better.
Well, here's one. Colonist George Howe was killed by a native while searching for crabs in
That's a great reason.
Albemarle
You're
Sound.
murdering our people at Alberdale Sound.
Yes, so this is not helping things at all.
Wait, now
This is
that's just not a clever euphemism for like his crotch, is it?
No.
This is the saddest tombstone. Just, here lies George Howe. He was killed while searching alone for crabs.
Really, what it meant was he was looking for that pussy. That's what it really meant.
That's what it's called, picking up a prostitute in England, searching alone for crabs.
Oh my god, I would
His
love.
crab game was on fleek. Savages were savage as fuck.
Oh god, you 20-something-year-olds, I just don't get what these words mean.
You think we do?
No idea. I'm gonna make a White Russian right now. Sorry for announcing that.
No, that's fine.
What's happening?
We're all drinking PBRs, and we've got the supplies for White Russians, and God, a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know. All right. So, fearing for their lives, the colonists persuaded Governor White to return to England to explain the colony's desperate situation and to ask for help. Left behind were about 115 colonists.
Well, 114. I mean,
True. That one. How,
son of a
how was
bitch,
killed.
George
It's true.
I feel bad. I love that guy. Can we take a moment? Can we drink for him right now?
Yeah. We'll wait for you to finish your White Russian.
Pour one out for...
Harambe.
Might as well be.
dicks out for Harambe.
Might as well be Harambe.
George Howe was the original Harambe.
Oh my god.
That's what it says on his tombstone. The original Harambe.
Original Harambe.
You had no idea what it meant. No one did.
No one did until today. By the way, you don't have coffee. I don't know why I'm talking. You can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, this is the weirdest looking thing.
This is a shitty White Russian, everybody.
It's
got
a
coffee,
brown Russian.
milk, Kahlua, and Skull. So
Good job, sir.
To George Howe.
To George Howe, searching for crabs alone.
Shortly thereafter, colonist George Howe was killed by a native while searching alone for crabs in Albemarle.
What an unfortunate fucking death. Oh, that's so funny.
When they had to inform his wife, she's like, "How did he die?" And the guy's just, "Yeah."
George Howe.
George Howe.
We're not getting through this.
No. Oh God. So, left behind were about 115 colonists. The remaining men and women who had made the Atlantic crossing, plus White's newly born granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child to be born in the Americas.
She was a
Total hoe.
anchor laws,
And
man.
then she died.
Wait, that's...
Yeah, she was the first anchor baby.
Ooh. It wasn't American.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. There were no real strict laws except for Indians wanting to kill you.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the one mob land.
Yeah.
The Indians want to murder you.
So White sailed for England in late 1587.
And left his granddaughter there?
Yeah,
Wow.
left his whole family. Although
Fuck
crossing
him.
the Atlantic at that time of year was a considerable risk in the winter. Plans for a relief fleet were delayed. First by the captain's refusal to return during the winter, and then the attack on England by the Spanish Armada and the subsequent Anglo-Spanish War. Every able ship joined the fight, leaving White without the means to return to Roanoke at the time in the spring of 1588. White managed to acquire 2 small vessels and sailed for Roanoke. However, his attempt to return was thwarted when the captains of the ship attempted to capture several Spanish ships on the outward bound voyage in order to improve their profits.
More profiteering.
You
Oh, yeah.
fucking clowns.
They themselves were captured and their cargo seized. With nothing left to deliver the colonists, the ships returned to England.
So it's 2 years. They're supposed
Yes.
to be back. And they're like, oh, no, we're going to... See these Spaniards?
All gone.
We're going to fuck them up.
Oh shit, they're fucking us up. These
Oh,
fucking clowns don't know what they're doing at all.
Oh, God. God, the British
So,
Empire is a joke. No
Because
offense,
of the
but-
continuing war with Spain, White was unable to mount another resupply attempt for an additional 3 years.
So we're on
He-
5 years now?
We're 5 years
I
without
think we're at
anything.
4, almost 5. He finally gained passage on a privateering expedition that agreed to stop off at Roanoke on the way back from the Caribbean.
Oh, just check in.
Yeah.
Catch up.
White landed on August 18th, 1590. So this is a good, 4 years at this point.
Yeah.
Gone.
Jesus.
On his granddaughter's 3rd birthday. I'm sorry, 3 years. But found the settlement deserted. His men could not find any trace of the 90 men, 17 women, and 11 children, nor were there any sign of a struggle or battle.
Alright, time out.
Yeah.
That is a weird ratio of men to women.
Yeah.
It's a perfect ratio. Why did I say perfect? No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, dude, why did you say that to
Perfect
me?
ratio.
11 children, though. So that means, like, all 17.
Yeah.
We're getting some.
I mean, they didn't bring children with them. That doesn't make any sense, right?
No, some of them brought children. Or
Oh, wow.
had children on the boat.
Shit. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Shitty ass parenting, I suppose.
Don't stop fucking for anything, I guess.
You know.
Bad seasickness.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't like the picture I'm getting.
Is it better than George Howe?
Nothing's better than George Howe.
Searching alone. So he had to have been one of these. Let's see. So we've got, like, if we're going with monogamy here, there had to be at least 73 other dudes who were
Yeah.
just forever alone on that voyage.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining
He was
George
one of
Howe
them.
is like,
Yeah.
he's walking up the beach. He's like, so, are we going to find any crabs out here today?
If I find a crab, I'll fuck it. I'm so lonely.
So anyone want to go crab hunting with me? No?
No, because
Okay.
you're the weirdest person ever to deal with, George. Oh, here's some friendly Native Americans. Oh, God!
I'm just picturing him slowly walking along the beach with the Peanuts Christmas music playing. Do 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 do.
We're back on George Howe.
We're back at George Howe. We never left.
So the only clue was the word Croatoan.
When they find his body, they're like, "Oh my God, George Howe was killed," and everyone's like, "Who?"
No one knew him.
He was one of the 90 men. Come on.
Yeah. So the only clue was the word Croatoan carved into a post of the fences around the village. All the houses and fortifications had been dismantled, which meant that their departure had not been hurried. And this is something that I didn't include in this little breakdown here. There was no boards left, no nails, no tools. It was as if nothing existed there any longer. There were stone houses that they had built, gone.
Huh.
All of the stones in this thing just gone.
Were the foundations still there, like the imprints from the stones?
All
or?
of it. Like there was no evidence
been a
that there
while.
had been.
That's true.
Yeah, there was no evidence that there had ever been a colony there whatsoever.
But they did leave the fence, apparently.
They left part of a fence, and
That was George Howe's fence. They couldn't.
Yeah, it literally was. Croatoan was George Howe's favorite word.
so White instructed them that if anything had happened to them, they would carve a Maltese cross on a tree nearby, indicating that their absence had been forced.
Huh,
There was no
smart.
cross, and White took this to mean that they had moved to Croatoan Island, but he was unable to conduct a search. A massive storm was forming, and his men refused to go any further. The next day, they left.
For
Bunch of
England?
pussies. You kidding me?
They're
They're like 114 people here. We gotta figure this out.
Oh yeah, no yeah, all gone. All of them disappeared.
And it's like he made the journey across the Atlantic, and he's like, there's a storm.
Oh, there's a storm coming, guys.
His
Let's
granddaughter
Yeah.
gone. His kids, adios. They're gone too.
I mean, he really wasn't a good grandpa. Like,
Nah.
bye, Felicia. Like, that's seriously what he did. Like,
Her name was Virginia.
Bye, Virginia. Oh,
ew.
that was weird.
It was.
So 12 years went by before Riley decided to find out what happened to his colony. He decided it was
Did you just forget?
fucking forgot.
So,
He was
Absolutely.
checking Facebook.
so time out.
Yeah.
Right? So it took him 12 years to be like, how are they doing there?
Yeah.
Roanoke sounds
Oh
familiar.
yeah. Remember how the Queen told me I had only a certain amount of time to establish
How's
the
my
colony?
buddy the artist White going?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and this
I
is the
really
thing is
can't wait to see George Howe again.
Said no one ever.
since LA?
so
Maybe that's why his life fell apart.
the guilt of they were hoping to find like just tons of iron, tons of gold because the crown needed it. They needed the money to keep this war up with Spain at the time.
And they were hearing about what Spain was pulling out from South America.
Exactly. So they just figured it was all over the place.
Yeah, pulling.
But
Plus, they wanted those sweet, sweet Albemarle crabs.
Albemarle crabs.
Cribs.
Cribs.
Them Albemarle cribs.
So they this was important
Maybe
that
some
they actually get this going, and not too long after the disappearance of this colony, they started up the colony just up the coast of Jamestown,
Yes.
and that was a particularly brutal adventure for them. There was a whole year where they had no supplies because this region, and particularly Roanoke Island, was inhospitable when it comes to growing crops. It just refused. There was a bunch of trees there that were hanging on for dear life, and that's it. Animals really didn't like visiting it because it was a pretty isolated island. You had fishing around there, but then you had to go off the island to do any hunting.
That's a weird spot to like choose an island.
They weren't
Yeah.
really thinking. It was
It's
isolated
a
enough.
good spot for like a military base, but
Yeah.
for, like,
Exactly.
a colony,
And it was out far enough for them to have ships kind of resupply them easily and reach, like,
unless they were privateering against the
Yeah, and that's all their cargo got stolen when they tried to rob a ship.
You know, you don't plan for these things, but it happens, right?
oh yeah. But this place was just it just was not picked well picked for any sort of like growing of crops,
Yeah.
and the water was basically like half seawater, half fresh water.
Yeah.
So it was nearly undrinkable. And they were probably drinking their own sewage, too, because of the fact that no one knew what to do with poo when they threw it out.
What I really think was a big factor here is they were probably landing just in that region because if they're sailing from the northern Atlantic, especially like out of the English Channel,
The first land they fucking fall on. This is fine.
pretty much if they're going just by the Gulf Stream.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many factors for why they landed right there. But
This place with dead trees and no animals, and
it's not a great place to be. So, led by Samuel Mace, this 1602 expedition differed from the previous voyages in that Riley bought his own ship and guaranteed the sailors' wages so that they wouldn't be distracted by privateering.
then they got distracted by privateering and everyone died.
However, Riley still hoped to make money from the trip, and Mace's ship landed on the Outer Banks to gather aromatic woods or plants such as sassafras that would generate a decent profit back in England.
We don't want profiteering. We just want, just fuck around for a little
Yeah, instead of wait a little bit, gather some supplies.
If they're there, they're gonna be there when we get back.
And if they're still not there, they're still not
They're
there.
still not there.
They tried to
What could have happened in these 5 years where we didn't supply them when
Oh, yeah.
They tried to privateer the plants and got all the crops stolen.
they didn't just say fuck it, we're abandoned and move on? No.
So by the time they could turn their attention to the colonists, the weather had turned bad and they were forced to return without even making it to Roanoke Island.
These guys are... Who gave them ships?
who trusted these people?
England is an island. How do they not
Queen.
know how to sail a boat?
So by this time, having been arrested for treason, Riley was unable to send any further missions.
Whatever.
Whatever at this point. Oh no, it's been 6 years. Oh.
So meanwhile...
finally, after so many failed privateering,
Yeah.
the Queen is just like...
Seriously. It's like
Fuck
literally,
it.
it's like literally the resupply mission was just like at the back of the fucking totem pole, or at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah. They had several other colonies going at this point.
Yeah.
So a lost one was fine.
Whatever.
Yeah, they don't care.
Who cares?
Yeah.
People are people, man.
So meanwhile, the Spanish had different reasons for wanting to find the colony. Knowing that Riley's plan was to use Roanoke as a base for privateering, they were hoping to destroy it. Moreover, they had been getting mostly inaccurate reports of activities there, and they imagined the colony to be far more successful than it actually was.
Can I interrupt real fast?
Yeah.
Just going back to the first page when it said the Queen said to discover, search, find out, and view such blah 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 to have, hold, occupy, and enjoy. What if the last line was and unsuccessfully privateer from?
You know what? They would have succeeded at that.
That's what that says, Jacob. You
Check.
gotta read between the lines.
If you're going to say that, you have to do it in the Queen's accent. So
Yes, you
can
do.
you
So
can you redo that?
The Queen said to discover, search, find out, and view such remote, heathen, and barbarous lands, countries, and territories, ellipses, to have, hold, occupy, and enjoy.
And
unsuccessfully privateer.
perfect. Queen Elizabeth the First.
I could use some crumpets right now.
It's like she was in the room with us.
She was here. I felt her presence.
So in 1590, they found the Spanish found the remnants of the colony purely by accident and assumed it was only an outlying base for the main settlement, which they believed was in the Chesapeake Bay area, John White's intended location. But just as the Anglo-Spanish War prevented White from returning in a timely manner, the Spanish authorities in the New World could not muster enough support back home for such a venture.
So the Spanish weren't doing really any better
No.
than the English.
No, they were. I think they were just like. Two like half-dead dogs fighting each other at this point.
Well, the Spanish lost a huge fleet to England.
Oh, that was a great battle.
Yeah.
I wish I could talk about that, but I won't.
I forgot the details, but
What
yeah.
was it, like the 53 ships versus the one?
Versus three.
3, yes.
Yeah.
That's where
the burning ships.
that guy, who was it, Greenville, that launched the first adventure to Roanoke.
It was probably.
He was on the last ship.
He was on the...
It was probably-
George Howe was set to be on one of the flaming ships.
It was probably one of the most impressive feats of naval strategy.
Yeah, it was what was it like? I've heard it was either 12 hours or 3 days worth of fighting.
Yeah.
And
Sir Francis Drake was a part of it, wasn't he? I think so.
I'm
Dude,
sure.
I just love Sir Francis Drake. He's like Sir Francis Bacon, you know? Like, that's a great name.
Right?
And you have
Drake.
historical significance. So, like,
Yeah.
good on you.
The queen was like, okay, you can keep being a pirate, but I have to knight you first, and you have to give me half of what you make. So
He's
like, sure.
Done. Are you kidding me?
You're like,
I get to
doing
keep
this?
half? Bitch, I'm bringing in 15 mil a day.
So,
Yeah, Sir Francis Drake and Lord Charles Howard.
there you go.
Lord. Oh, Lord.
So, there are a lot of theories for why they all disappeared. Once Jamestown settlement was established in 1607, efforts were undertaken by the English to acquire information from the Powhatan tribe about the 1587 Lost Colony. The first definitive information concerning the fate of the Lost Colony came from Captain John Smith, leader of the Jamestown colony from 1608 to 1609. According to the chronicler Samuel Purchas, Smith learned from the Powhatan, known to the English as Chief Powhatan, that he had personally conducted the slaughter of the lost colonists.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
This shot-
Say that again, please, for me.
Chief Powhatan had said that he had personally conducted the slaughter of the lost colonists.
What a dick.
Well, we weren't great to them either.
No.
It was an eye for an eye.
Village for a cup.
Yeah.
It was a very
But
nice cup.
It was a very nice
Never
cup.
found the cup.
They don't understand the value of a cup.
He got it for his bar mitzvah.
They never understood the value of John Howe either, or George Howe.
George Howe. To George Howe.
To George Howe.
Rest in peace.
Rest in
You
peace.
poor fucker.
That
then you
could
find
be
those
why
crabs.
Chief slaughtered.
Yeah.
He was probably
Life of
waiting
Next.
for George Howe.
He's like, I'm gonna get this fucker. This son of a bitch knows what he did.
You see this idiot out here all alone looking for crabs? Go get him.
His head's just up in the sky. He's not even looking at the water. It starts raining. He just watches his mouth fill up with water.
So this shocking information was reported to England by the spring of 1609. King James and the Royal Council were convinced that Chief Powhatan was responsible for the slaughter of the Lost Colony. The second source for Chief Powhatan's involvement in the fate of the Lost Colony was William Stracey, Secretary of the Jamestown Colony in 1610 to 1611. Stracey's The History of Travel into Virginia, Britannia, seemed to confirm Smith's report and proved additional information. The colonists had been living peacefully among the group of natives beyond Powhatan's domain for more than 20 years when they were massacred. Furthermore, Powhatan himself seemed to have directed the slaughter because of prophecies by his priests. And the slaughter took place about the same time that the Christopher Newport arrived in Chesapeake Bay with the Jamestown settlers in 1607. Rumors about possible survivors of the massacre led to several search expeditions, but no trace of the colonists have ever been found. So the other theory, after just total murder, was that they had been
Straight up killing bitches.
straight up
I mean,
killing
what
them,
they do with
bitches.
the bodies? Eat them?
Or burn them, or bury them, throw them
Yeah.
out to sea. There's, I mean, honestly, if you just leave a body in the forest,
Animals.
3 years without any resupplies.
or even just like in a rainy season, that body's gone in a matter of a couple days.
Yeah. I mean, still have bones.
So,
You will have
unless an animal scatters them. That's the
true.
thing.
That's true.
I mean, you're gonna see some bones on an island.
Well, maybe.
What I want to know is if this motherfucking chief was like, "Yeah, we killed them all." They ask him, "Well, what'd you leave?" What do you mean, what we leave? A sign saying Croatoan? Come on, that's a calling sign right there.
Yeah.
That's some
To
thug ass
distract
shit right
them
there.
from the Powhatan and the
That's like-
Croatoans.
So
That's
he
like-
learned to read and write the English language
Yes.
so that he could tag
So
the
he
shit
could
out
tag
of
the
that fence.
shit out of that fence.
After
And he
straight up
never,
murdering a bunch of bitches.
mentions
Oh, yeah.
it, though. And he never mentions it. He's not like, "Yeah, we killed those motherfuckers, and guess what I tagged? Croatoan." Clearing out those motherfuckers.
And John Smith is like, "How will you spell it wrong?"
Yeah, right?
He eventually
Ew.
showed them the iron tools that he stole from the village.
Yeah, but,
Oh, okay.
but like if they're dying, if they're getting murdered, no one's gonna think, "You know what I'm gonna write?
Croatoan.
Because these guys are definitely not Croatoan, but you know what? I like that word. So
Yeah.
that's
That
what
probably
we need.
means something.
Yeah.
Or it could be that it was like, in his panic, he's just like, oh my god, what do I write?
What have we done?
Yeah, but then why leave that if everything was like lifted up? Like, oh yeah, we straight up murdered them, and then we took their supplies
On the other side of the
and
tree,
we made a bridge.
it just says, "Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
What?
I'm so sorry! I'm sorry! I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
Like,
Please don't shoot me with your
Like-
muskets."
yeah, we're gonna murder them all, but then we're gonna leave their stone houses. No, we need those stones.
I feel like we're
Yeah.
I feel like we're missing something. So Chief Powhatan tells John Smith, an Englishman, a captain, so
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
in the
yeah.
military, that, oh yeah, we killed all your settlers. Why didn't he just say, oh well, that's a declaration of war? So
Because they couldn't muster the
Force
at that point
to
yeah,
murder
the force
all
to
that makes
do
sense.
Because
Have
that
you
was
seen Pocahontas, Jacob? Come
yeah,
on.
isn't Powhatan her dad? His dad? Her dad?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But at
I was hoping you wouldn't
between
tell me.
between 1610 and 1611 is when Jamestown went through its roughest patch, where
Yeah.
it was, what do they call it, the famine times or
I think
their
that's when
starving
they,
times?
straight up like murdered one another.
Oh yeah, they would eat corpses. They would
Yeah,
eat
they resorted to cannibalism at that point.
hallucinogenic
So they
mushrooms.
didn't. They
Yeah.
were not doing good even before
This
that.
country was founded on cannibalism.
It was.
Manifest Destiny.
It was. Absolutely.
Cannibal the Musical. Best movie I've ever seen.
I think cannibalism should be integrated into the Thanksgiving Day.
I'm not that progressive. But I
Okay.
like where your head's at.
Okay.
I'll get there in like 6 years.
All right.
me
Next
see.
in like
The,
I guess not.
maybe 4 next election cycle. If a candidate says cannibalism, okay. Got my-
I'd vote for him.
I got my
Trump
vote.
2020.
Yeah, if Trump 2020 he
He
says
evolves his platform to be
changes his
cannibalism.
platform
I've been
to
talking to
pro
a lot of people,
cannibalism.
and they all want to eat each other.
Yeah.
They all want to eat each other.
Trust
It's
me,
gonna be
I know the best
fantastic.
people.
They're gonna
I know
love it.
it's gonna be huge.
These people taste the best. I know the best tasting people. It's gonna be huge.
It's tremendous.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing?
If he went with that platform, I don't think I could do anything but vote for him. Like,
Because not only can you grab the pussy, you can eat it too.
yeah.
I guess more ways than one. All right.
And with that,
yeah.
I think I'm done.
works on
I
many
think I'm gonna
levels.
just stop talking for the rest of the podcast because nothing's gonna top that.
Shit, that was good.
Nothing will top that.
That's vulgar. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
This is a professional podcast.
This actually airs on
I think
Nickelodeon,
we're spirituality, I think, so we can say anything we goddamn well please.
I put us under science.
This pseudoscience.
Yo, this sounds.
Well, they didn't have pseudoscience as a
weekly world news
What
stuff they're
are
doing.
you sort of single size in this?
Sort of single size in this.
Sort of single size in this.
All right, so let's finish that. Let's finish that PBR.
Don't put us under science. We talked about Bigfoot. We talked about Slender Man. We talked about ghosts.
Slender Man.
Yeah.
He was
talked
made up
about-
on a
We
farm.
talked about movies.
You asked me if Bigfoot is an alien.
We'll get into him being an alien in another episode.
Okay, well,
You need to put us under entertainment.
I could do that.
That's
But
where
that's
science and
that's where we
entertainment.
need to be.
It's such a
Is there
saturated
a
sort of
drunk?
market.
Is there a drunk category? Because if you can put us under drunk, I think
No, they don't have that on YouTube.
Matt's really stuck on the
We're,
science thing. Though I was like, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
keep entertainment and science.
Because
No,
we're-
no, we need to
we're-
talk science.
I have not seen a single works cited in this.
That's
Beautiful
fine. You don't need to
Catholic
worry
people.
about that.
I do.
But what we
This
citing
is
Wikipedia.
science. I think so.
there's a good chunk of that in there.
We're just citing Matt's blog.
Yeah.
I'll
George
post
Howe's journal
George
Is George
Howe.
Howe even real?
went hunting for
Is
crab.
George Howe even real?
Asshole.
They used his name several times across.
How do you spell it?
Was George Howe Bigfoot?
Oh my God! Are you just gonna Google George Howe?
Goddamn right I
I'm
am.
googling George Howe too.
Google this shit.
How do you
See if
spell
he's got
George
a
Howe?
Twitter.
George. I can't.
I know how to spell George.
H-
I wanna know-
H-O-W-E.
H-O-W-E.
George Howe, Roanoke.
All right. So far, I got a bulk candy, bulk nuts gourmet cafe. So
Died
Yeah.
alone looking for crabs.
Is that what?
I wish. No, let's see. Roanoke Colony.
Oh, I got it. I got Roanoke. List of columnists at Roanoke.
In an ironic fashion, though, I got George J. Howe Company, food product supplier.
Ooh.
His crab hunting, I guess, expedition alive.
That company was all killed by niggers. All sorts of killed for crabs.
So yes. All right. So yes, in the Wikipedia page of Roanoke, we have the governor, John White, the assistant to the governor, Roger Bailey, the second assistant to the governor, Roger Pratt, and the advisor, murdered by natives, George Howe. Yep, we got it. George Howe, advisor, murdered by natives.
Does it say
Damn,
what
was that
you
on
were
his
looking for?
tombstone? Murdered by natives?
I hope so.
Searching for crabs alone, murdered by natives.
Powell, I'm gonna look at the site. I'm gonna look at the citation.
They spelled his first and last name wrong on the tombstone. Jorge Howe, but it's just
All right, and the citation states. Where are
Guys, we have 20 minutes. We got time. We only won
This is perfect.
Wait. So George Howe also appears under children and teenagers. So
I'm sure there was a common name.
No. This is the thing. So what I'm guessing here is
The
that
George Howe I have was murdered by natives and was an advisor to John White.
But
So the
he's
artist
probably why
probably
he
painted a
private
beautiful
hearing
picture.
is because
There's probably
George Howe
a
was
buried,
really, like,
there's
13.
probably a buried picture of George Howe dying by natives by John White. And that's probably why he killed a bunch of people for a cup.
It's a good thing that there's no...
Too bad that's not chronologically accurate.
What if that's just the story they told that he was killed by natives? He's like, ooh, a crab, and then he slipped and fell, and the crab just pinched him until
He
he
was
died.
alone, remember?
What?
He was
It's
alone.
true. He could
Yeah.
have died by crabs.
And then when they had to tell his grieving wife, they're like, he got killed by Indians. He
Alright, there
definitely
were
didn't
90
slip
men
and
and
get killed by a
17
crab.
men. Do you think he had a wife?
No.
His name's fucking
You're
George
right.
Howe.
And he was looking for crabs alone.
And he was looking for crabs.
I still say he was.
But that is something a wife would make a man do,
He's
though.
listed under children.
Let's
and
be
teenagers.
honest. That is something a wife would make a man do. We need to eat tonight. Go look for those fucking crabs. Why else would he be going for crabs alone?
Because
He just
no
like
one
crabs.
likes him.
Yeah, he's just.
He had bad body odor and...
He played Dungeons and Dragons too much.
They're like, I'm thinking his wife was like, "We need to eat tonight, hon," and he's like, "Bitch, we don't have no food." And she's like, "Bitch, go get those crabs out there, and you best be going alone."
Seeing them crawling all over the beach.
Yeah.
You go get that shit.
You know, there was a montage of him chasing after the crabs as he acted sexually, and then the camera pans out, and he's being chased by the crabs, and there's one stuck in his finger, and he's shaking it around.
Like Benny Hill. It's
Yeah.
like a sax player.
That's
All right, so back onto the facts.
So if Gosario, let's be honest, if any of us go to Virginia, we're gonna get fucking haunted by George Howe, hardcore.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
He's not passed on.
I
He was
love
killed
that.
by natives and died alone. You think that motherfucker is passed on? No.
He's confused.
He's fucking
standing
hanging out on
beach.
that beach, and
Motherfucker
he
got
knows
unfinished business.
we've been talking
Them
about him.
crabs.
What he does is he
Those
picks up
crabs.
crabs and throws them at people.
Ooh.
Ooh, ghost.
But if any of us four goes, he's just, oh, you fucking dicks.
I listened to your podcast. It sucked. You made fun of me.
But then I hit like and I couldn't take it back.
All right, so one of the other theories that they had for why the colonists had disappeared and all evidence of them have disappeared off the island was because after the resupply ship didn't show up for 4 years, they had to integrate with the local tribes.
That's just a real casual 4 years.
Oh, yeah. I would say about a year in, they're like, what are we going to do, guys?
We gotta figure something out.
All these Native Americans who don't like us very much are, well, might as well talk to them because they got all the food and they know what to do.
Yep.
So John Lawson wrote in his 1709 work, A New Voyage to Carolina, that the Croatoans living on Hatteras Island used to live on Roanoke Island and claimed to have white ancestors.
Ooh.
Yes, I read about this.
A farther confirmation of this we have from the Hatterans Indians who either lived on Roanoke Island or much frequented it. They tell us that several of their ancestors were white people and could talk in a book, as we do. Ooh. The truth of which is confirmed by gray eyes being found frequently among these Indians and no others.
Weren't they also paler?
Oh yeah,
Because I read that. And what does talk in a book mean?
like they could read.
Oh,
and
read.
write.
Okay, yeah.
That's so crazy, man.
They value themselves extremely for their affinity to the English and are ready to do them all friendly offices. It is probable that this settlement of the miscarried for want of timely supplies from England, and through the treachery of the natives, for we may reasonably suppose that the English were forced to cohabitate with them for relief and conversation. And
Conversation, they're lonely.
And that in process of time, they confirmed themselves to the manners of their Indian relations.
Crazy.
Yep.
That's really crazy.
Like, what do you do when you see a person-looking creature coming across the land doesn't say anything? I'm gonna fuck that.
Yeah, might as well.
Hell yeah, I'm getting that.
Literally it.
From the early 17th century to the middle 18th century, European colonists reported encounters with gray-haired American Indians who claimed descent from the colonists.
American Indians.
Oh, great-eyed. Whatever. Records from the English Huguenots who settled among the Tar River in 1696 tell of meeting Terraquois with blonde hair and blue eyes not long after their arrival. As Jamestown was the nearest English settlement, and they had no record of being attacked by Tuscarora, the likelihood that the origin of these fair-skinned natives was the Lost Colony is high. Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought happened. They went to go live with the Croatoans and kind of just spread.
In my opinion, that is the most logical opinion. That they had no other choice but to live with them, and thus eventually just joined them.
Yeah. Well, Croatoan was on there. They're
Yeah.
like, hey man, this is fam now.
Exactly. Other theories, the Chesapeakeans historian David Beer Quinn hypothesized that the colony moved wholesale and was later destroyed. When the Captain John Smith and the Jamestown colonists settled in Virginia in 1607, one of the assigned tasks was to locate the Roanoke colonists. The native leader, Chief Powhatan, told Captain Smith about the Virginia Peninsula-based Powhatan Confederacy, and went on to say that he had wiped out the Roanoke colonists just prior to the arrival of Jamestown settlers because they were living with the Chesapeakean, a tribe living in the eastern portion of the present-day Southampton Roads subregion, who, besides having refused to join Chief Powhatan's Powhatan Confederacy, were prophesied to rise up and destroy his empire.
Wow.
Yeah. That's some Star Wars bullshit there.
Yeah.
Chief Powhatan reportedly produced several English-made iron implements to back his claim, but no bodies were found and no archaeological evidence has been found to support this claim. However, that which was found at the Chesapeake Village site in Great Neck Point in present-day Virginia Beach suggests that the Chesapeake tribe was related to the Pamlico in Carolina rather than the Powhatans.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a long run-on sentence there. There were no reports of the Native American burial mound in the Pine Beach area of Sewell's Point in present-day Norfolk, Virginia, where the principal Chesapeake village of Sycowac may have been located.
Norfolk? The naval base? Norfolk?
Skioak. S-K-I-O-A-K.
Sycowac or Skikawac. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce these Native American names. Another theory is that the Spanish came and destroyed the colony.
Yeah, there we go.
Pretty much. Yeah, honestly, I mean, that's another very plausible area.
Killed the dudes, threw them in the sea, took all the wood and whatnot.
Yeah.
Tried to privateer them, failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when privateering fails, you just straight up murder bitches.
Fuck yeah. Another theory that I ran across that I couldn't find confirmed across a couple other sources was that they had taken apart the dwellings so that they could then sail back to England or sail back at least a couple people to find help. But the problem is first of all, as we can clearly see from the fact that they couldn't deal with regular weather, a professionally made ship is a really tough thing to get across the sea. So a poorly made ship from this island or this colony of people who don't know how to build ships, it's not going to end well for them. So and the other thing too about this too,
They probably got privateering happy while they were out.
This
it's like a fucking sickness that you get when you're on the water.
Literally. That's not the British, yeah. They're probably like, Yo, man, we're from fucking Roanoke. We got this
It's like a
shit.
gang shows up.
Literally.
There's Roanoke Canada.
That's what it feels like. And then they fuck with the wrong Spanish gang, and the cartel fucks them and puts them in barrels.
There you go.
Roanoke.
Oh yeah, that would fit.
I was afraid it would have like 4 letters to say.
Guys, do you guys want to put George Howe on our knuckles?
They wouldn't fit, but yes. More than anything else.
we could do that.
I can't spell today. GEORGEHOWE.
So yeah, so that's a theory that they. But the other idea that I also saw on this website was that they, if they were slowly taking apart buildings to send a ship off to go and like get help, then that means that there's all of these people who are living without dwellings at this point.
Yeah.
So they're all, what are they, just living out in the open? Are they just like camping?
No.
Cohabitating, like
clearly. I mean,
millennials.
to be honest, they are on an island, and they do have these houses set up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like the only explanation
Yeah.
that I can see being there is like, hey man, we got a bunch of bricks. You take us off this island. We got these bricks for you. Let's figure something out. Like I can't see them like leaving, because if they left, they're not going to take everything with them.
No, yeah, they would have left something.
Exactly. So they're like, and if they were murdered by the Pawadin, like he's not going to be like, we murdered all these people. Let's tear down their homes.
Yeah, why take the time? Or at the very least,
Let's very neatly tear down there.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's very neatly.
let's
make
not
sure
leave any
that-
tools. Let's
Yeah.
not leave any nails. Let's not leave any evidence that there had been people
Yeah.
here before.
Exactly.
Yo, graffiti that tree though.
Yeah.
crow
See that
toe.
fence
Yeah,
post?
motherfucker.
Get that.
Yeah, hit that with the crow toe.
Leave the fence post though.
Yeah.
So-
it was
so
it's very
clearly-
strange.
Make sure to
Clearly-
bang your knees stepping over it.
To me, it feels like they had to have just been like, fuck this, let's
Fuck
Yeah, they-
this, let's
they
go to the
must- let's
let's
mainland.
move out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's the biggest explanation. One of the other things that I ran across while doing research on this was that they actually found 2-story stone dwellings within some of these native tribes. That they were So it was very English
Yeah.
styled homes, which didn't exist. They may have had like almost cabins that they lived in, like the longhouses,
That's
or
a bitch that lived there.
Mhm.
It's an English bitch that lived there. She
But-
ain't gonna live in 1-story house. She's gonna have 2.
Yeah,
Ballin'.
with thatched roofs that like
Thatched
they
roof.
didn't exist,
And she's gonna yell at her man until he gets that figured out.
But yeah, so yeah, this is it's very strange. Another thing that comes up is the Virginia Pars map. In May 2011, Brent Lane of the First Colony Foundation was studying the Virginia Pars map, which was made by John White during his 1585 visit to Roanoke Island, and noticed 2 patches were where the map had been corrected. The patches were made of paper contemporaneous with that of the map. Lane asked researchers at the British Museum of London where the map had been kept since 1866, what might be under the patches, sparking a research investigation. And May 3rd, 2012, at Wilson Library in the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, members of the foundation and the representatives of the museum announced the discovery of a large square-shaped symbol with oddly shaped corners.
So all this time, no one ever thought to put it on like a coffee table with like a lamp underneath it.
This symbol, presumed to be to represent a fort, is visible when the map is viewed on a light box.
Oh, this is like national treasure shit.
Yeah.
Except there's no treasure.
Hardcore.
No, it
There's
would
just
just be
one
like a mass grave.
silver
Yeah,
cup.
the treasure is a best.
Oh,
It's just
a
one cup.
mass grave with a 1 silver cup at the top.
Whoa,
Oh my
it's all
God.
tarnished. It hasn't been polished in 5
Literally,
years.
the
This
real
is
treasure
worthless.
were those
Literally,
crabs.
that silver cup would give me such a hard on.
Oh yeah.
George Howe was like, what if the treasure was inside
it
us
was-
all along? And they just shot him.
Killed by Indians. Poisoned by our
Murdered by
enemies. Killed by
natives.
Indians.
So this symbol, presumed to represent a fort, is visible when the map is viewed under a light box. Some scholars speculate that the colonists relocated to that location on what is now called Salmon Creek in the Bertie community or county community of Mary Hill. The Scotch Hall Preserve Golf Course community was planned on this site, but they has not been fully developed yet because they keep finding new artifacts in that area.
Time out.
Yeah,
Conspiracy theory.
let's go for it.
George Howe. He stole the silver cup.
I was just gonna say during the burning, he's like, "Oh, it was in my back pocket the
I
whole
don't
time."
think he was present for the first
George
raids.
Howe stole that silver cup. Everybody knew it.
I think he
And
was
so
still in England at the
and
time.
No.
No,
Looking for those crabs.
Time out. Let's look back
It's
at
like,
the
hey,
notes.
mommy, I can't wait to go
He
to
was
the
not
new
there
world
on
and
the
search
first-
for crabs.
he was not
I can't
there
wait
for
till
the
you leave.
first colony. He was there for the
I
second colony.
was very sure that the second colony was the one that burned down.
The mom is just like,
This is the
"I can't
first
wait till you
colony.
get killed by natives looking
Yeah.
for crabs."
I can't
Alright,
wait
fair
until
enough.
the natives kill you.
Conspiracy theory gone.
Okay,
The conspiracy
I hope
theory,
you
if he
score
was
fuck
part of
your
that colony,
crops.
was he stole the silver cup.
Thanks, mom.
He let a whole village
you,
of
Mommy.
Indians get burned.
I love you.
And then therefore, when they found out that he stole the silver cup, they were like, yeah, we didn't kill him.
Natives killed him.
The natives got him. When he was out searching for crabs
Alone.
alone.
poor
There
guy.
were no witnesses. Why was he alone?
He was just
Because
you
he
know
was George
what?
Howe.
Crabs.
There are some people who are just born to be victims, and George Howe was one of them.
One of them.
That's his middle name, George, born to be a victim. I always wondered why his mom gave him such a strange last
Oh my
name.
God.
It actually is victim because when you read it like last name first, it's like
How, George?
how George is victim.
Oh my God.
Sounds like an idiot. How George's victim.
So another key part to why they may have failed so badly is because when they did some tree ring analysis of the time period in which they had established their colony, it was one of the worst droughts that particular region of Virginia had experienced in a long time.
To be honest, they wouldn't know.
When it rains, it pours.
Yes, they would not have
It
known
doesn't
because
rain,
they were
no
not
idea.
there for any period of time long enough to establish any sort of like weather patterns.
Not like they could grow crops there anyway. So it's
No,
not
it was
really-
a terrible
Yeah.
place for crops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it for the Roanoke Island. They didn't do so well.
So who did they send over to the New World? Like, were these soldiers or farmers
no.
or just...
These
no,
were,
it was explorers and
Some
artists
And
And
George
artists.
and
Howe.
soldiers,
George Howe?
George
crab
idiots.
enthusiasts.
Artists, clearly artists.
privateers, lots of
Oh
privateers.
God.
Not successful ones.
I think anybody on the water is like, look at that fucking ship, go get it.
Instantly filled with
Those
waves.
guys.
Like a dog seeing the mailman, just I'm gonna fuck him up.
I'm gonna fuck you. I'm gonna fuck you.
And I don't have any cannons, and I'm in a rowboat, and I'm gonna fuck that galleon up.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. So they didn't do so well, and this is just one of those like parts of history that these were the first sacrificial people to really get the experiment of what it takes to get in a colony going.
There's
Yeah.
always got to be some first asshole to go over the trench.
Yeah.
You know?
Why do you
Yeah.
think I haven't volunteered for Mars yet?
Oh, I'm volunteering for Mars the moment they allow it.
We just talked about Roanoke. Yeah, we'll be back in a year.
You know
We're
what?
gonna be privateering
Elon
fucking
Musk-
aliens.
I'm gonna go fuck up that asteroid.
See that UFO? We're gonna take that. Elon Musk's like, hey, Matt, we're gonna be back in a year. Cool, man. See you then. Oh, sorry, we got privateered because we saw an alien ship, and we're like, we're gonna steal your shit. And guess what happened? Oh, well,
They stole our shit.
You know
They
what?
gave us enough fuel to get back. So cool.
Elon Musk
Bye.
will make sure we get back safe and sound.
yeah.
We tried to attack an asteroid and it stole all our stuff.
Oh shit! My
Mr.
sword would be
It's
to
just
blew it
made
up.
of rocks. Yes. Mr. Musk, why don't we name the colony Roanoke 2?
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
This time it's personal.
Why don't we also name the ship George Howe?
Yeah.
Because I heard it on a podcast. Shut up.
The USS George Howe.
Alright, can we just give one last toast to George Howe?
He died
I
hunting
need another
space
beer.
crabs.
George
He
Howe.
died the best way possible.
I don't have any beer.
You got me.
Oh no. There we go.
Let's do it again. There we go.
So yeah, George Howe died alone, looking for crabs.
Can you imagine his descendants in Mars hunting crabs with like little space helmets?
He didn't have any descendants.
Oh, who am I
he was
kidding?
alone. He was alone looking for crabs.
He was alone. He was a poor fucking son of a bitch.
Do you think this
God.
He
podcast
was
is?
just hungry. He just wanted some crab for dinner.
Do you think this podcast is at all listenable, or us howling like idiots about George Howe for an hour?
Yeah,
long?
absolutely.
I think so.
Honestly, what do you think a podcast is?
George Howe.
Yep.
Anyway,
He'd play
everybody,
Hawthorne Heights on his fife. You know?
thank you everybody for joining us today on this adventure into our American past. And follow us on Twitter. Let's make it make it weird pod.
Yeah.
You can find us on Instagram. Let's Make It Weird. What is it? Tumblr. Let's Make It Weird, or the Let's Make It Weird podcast.
I do not know what any of our information is. Let me look it up. Let's Make It Weird, all one word, is the Instagram.
Okay.
And I don't know our Tumblr.
I think it's the Let's Make It Weird podcast.
Yeah.
Because I was having a hard time finding it myself, and then I typed in the, and I'm like, boom, there we go. You can email us at letsmakeitweird@gmail.com. And that's really it. Oh yeah, you can find us on our YouTube page. Let's Make It Weird. I just put up our episodes there if you want to listen to it in a different format, I guess.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you think this is science, good for you.
Yeah.
On the beach of life, there's more than just one kind of crab.
Yeah.
I would just love to find somebody who's like looking for like scientific facts about Roanoke Island, and they find this bullshit.
And he listens for an hour and 13 minutes and then kills himself.
And he's
Yeah.
like, I didn't learn a goddamn thing.
George Howe.
Honestly, if you made it to this point, George Howe.
Boom. So yeah, everybody, thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you as soon as we possibly can with the Thanksgiving, I guess, festivities under our belts.
I
Yeah.
think the next podcast should be about how Trump won the election and do aliens exist to fucking.
I don't want to talk about Trump yet.
Yeah.
We have to see what his administration does within the first 2
Oh,
months.
you mean Mike Pence being his vice president?
I don't know, man. Those wounds are too open still.
They're still very fresh.
To be fair, I don't give
They're
a fuck.
huge.
because
The wounds
this is
are huge. They're
America,
going to be
like,
fantastic.
It's gonna be okay.
These are some fantastic
Sort of.
wounds.
The biggest wounds I've ever held. These
Any-
wounds are so huge. I know the best doctor, he can mend them.
Anyway,
I talked to a
everybody,
lot of people, they all agree. Why did I interrupt you with this stupid
don't
do
know.
the thing?
we'll
Howe! To George Howe!
George Howe again. Boom.
There
It's so underwhelming hearing cans like thunk together.
Empty cans.
Oh god, yeah.
We need more.
Everybody, we'll talk to you soon, and let's keep it weird. All right.
Bye!
Bye, Super Kawaii!